All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the K and
Show.
yeah, oh yeah. All right, so wow, crazy weekend of football. I was actually in Jacksonville, Florida. Was judging a Masters World Championships down there. I had about 5 guys competing that I coach, and so was having a lot of fun there. No sunlight, overcast and rain the whole weekend, so that was a little sucky. I did not get to watch very many games. Did see a few games, but not really didn't get to watch a lot of stuff. Recapped on highlights. Big O got to watch more. What games did you watch, Big O?
I watched Alabama Vanderbilt, Louisville SMU,
Yep.
and Tennessee Arkansas.
Okay, so were you surprised by the weekend, Big O?
Really surprised with
Yeah.
mainly Vanderbilt and Arkansas.
Yeah. You know what he wasn't surprised by? Missouri, because Big O said what?
That they were overrated.
And a fraud.
Fraud.
Big O called it. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you're placing bets, but you might want to start on Big O predictions. He straight called the Ole Miss game. Said, I'll cut my hair if Kentucky wins. That's how confident he was. He also said Missouri's a fraud, and man, did Texas A&M make them look like a fraud. Big O, what was the yardage difference for Texas A&M versus Missouri?
Texas A&M had 512 yards,
Yep.
and Missouri had 252.
Ooh, so almost half. I mean, they didn't even. Ooh, that's bad. Not good. Big game for Texas A&M. Coach Echo's got them really starting to play, and I was really kind of afraid of that. I thought he would do what he did at Duke, and he's starting to look that way. Had the rough game against Notre Dame, but man, they've come back, and I'm gonna call it. Texas A&M's in a pretty good spot. They don't have a really tough schedule. We'll see what happens with Missouri, but man, they did not look good. So, moving on to our next game. This will be a short one. It's been the same song and dance with FSU the entire year. Oh, they can't run the ball, they can't tackle or play defense, and their offense looks like a tortoise with a sprained ankle. But other than that, they're looking good. I mean, they're pretty solid. Other than that, they're just terrible. I mean, they had 16 yards rushing. Come on, really? And this is a team that's supposed to be able to run the ball. It was just, again, this was blown out. 500 yards for Clemson, 250 for FSU, and I'm sure 100 of that was gifts. It was probably in the fourth quarter late or something. But just blah, blah, blah. It's just the same old song and dance. So let's move on. Let's get to some teams that actually play football. All right, moving right on. Big O watched the Tennessee-Arkansas game. Now, when the game started, did you think Tennessee wins this easy?
Yeah, especially in the first quarter. Like ESPN said, Tennessee is going to blow out Arkansas, and Arkansas's defense looked really good in the first half, only giving Tennessee 14 points.
Yeah.
In the whole game.
Well, so 14-3 in the third quarter, and then the Hogs come back, and they had a backup quarterback, Big O?
Yeah, Singleton.
Wow. Backup quarterback leads them, but I still believe Tennessee's defense is really solid. They only gave up 19 points to Arkansas. Problem is Tennessee didn't score. Nico only had 156 yards passing, and Green had how many, Big O?
266.
So, everybody's talking about how great he was, and all of a sudden he wasn't. I believe, listening to a couple things on my drive home, that Arkansas let them have everything underneath and short, and then they just came up and made good tackles. So I love Coach Pittman. I always judge coaches on if I would play for him. I would play for Coach Pittman. He'd be a kind of coach I'd love to play for. So Tennessee at number 4 goes down, and I was one of those people that thought, man, Tennessee may have a legitimate chance to, win the SEC, but then just again showing how much parity is in the SEC. So I'm glad we didn't bet that one, Big O. Glad we stayed away from that one. Let's talk about the biggest upset, maybe of this could be in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Number one, Bama beats Georgia. And everybody's talking about, man, they're going to be good. So what I thought was Bama's going to have a hangover. I think they're going to have a hangover against Vandy. Did not think they'd beat them. I won't go that far. But I did place a bet on Vandy because they were getting 23.5 points. I thought it'd be a closer game just because of Bama's hangover. Them and Georgia just smashing heads the whole time. You're going to be a little beat up and you're on emotional high. Well, they were. Now, Milroe still did his part. Threw for 310 yards, scrambled, did what he should have done, but just not enough. Was Ryan Williams still good in that game, Big O?
Yeah. Even though the loss, Ryan Williams still the best freshman in the league right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely the best in the nation, no doubt. That he's straight magic, which they talk about this kid from Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith. Who's better, him or Ryan Williams?
Ryan Williams. Ohio State hasn't played anyone, really.
Boom. Big O just throwing bows again. Talking smack about Ohio State. I love it. They got to play somebody this weekend, though, so we'll talk about that later. So what did you remember what Coach Saban said? He said that everywhere in the SEC is hard to get a road win except Vanderbilt. And man, did they use that as motivation. So, what's this kid's name? Pavio? Is that? Diego Pavia. So, cool story. Kid was pretty much unrecruited, had to go to junior college, finally gets to New Mexico State, and he just tore it up last year. So, he was a transfer in from New Mexico State. And me and Big O all year said Vandy's look better than what their record is. And, hey, they proved it tonight. Vandy had 166 yards rushing, and Bama only had 84. When's the last time you remember an Alabama team rushing less than the other team, Big O? Been a while.
Not in the Nick Saban era. So.
Yeah, there you go. So, Big O again, jabbing poor Kalen DeBoer in the face, saying, you're not Nick Saban, bro. Just saying. What was the biggest stat on was third downs, I thought, Big O? What was the conversions for Bama and what was the conversions for Vandy?
Bama was 3 and 7 on third down conversions, and Vanderbilt was 12 and 18.
12 of 18. That's insane. I don't remember a Bama defense giving up 12 third downs in the Nick Saban era, do you?
No.
Okay, there we go. So, that's a big thing. Another thing that stands out to me was 2 turnovers by Bama, 0 for Vandy. And that's, if you're going to play them, that's what's got to happen. You got to win the turnover battle every single time. So here's what you're hoping for, right, Big O? Vandy's still partying this week because who do they play?
Kentucky.
Oh, so are you a little worried that Vandy's going to be too good for Kentucky?
I'm always worried about whoever Kentucky plays since Ole Miss. I hope
Spoken like a true UK fan.
Hope some of their players get drunk. So
There you have it. Big O is hoping that Vandy is still drunk when they show up on Saturday. Now, I don't know, is that a home or away game, Big O?
Kentucky is playing at home.
Okay, so Vandy's got to come up here. So Vandy celebrated, tore down a goalpost, walked the goalpost 2 miles, threw it in the Cumberland River. Big O still hoping they're drinking and partying like it's 1999 down there. Let's hope so, Big O. Get UK a big win. That'd be a big one, wouldn't it? Great win for Vandy. Hats off to their coach, their players, and I think it'd been 475 years since they'd ever, they'd beaten Bama like that. So, pretty good deal. We'll go into. There was no UK game this week, so Owen doesn't have a lot to report on that. But SMU Louisville, you watched that one, Big O?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever feel like Louisville was going to win that game?
Even before the game, I thought Louisville was going to win since they were ranked and SMU wasn't.
Yep.
And Louisville's defense was not there
Okay.
that day.
Well, I talked to someone on staff at Louisville, and they had alluded to they had done some changes on defense, and evidently it didn't work out. Didn't work out for them. SMU and Louisville were a kind of a back and forth battle. If you look at it on paper, it looks like it was a really close game, but if you watch it, you don't ever think SMU's ever not in control. And they brought in a new they replaced their quarterback after I think game 1 or game 2.
Yeah, something like that.
This kid they brought in is just a real good athlete. I think he had like a 59-yard touchdown run on one. Kept them out of trouble, kept the ball downfield, and then Louisville's, like I said, Louisville's defense just wasn't normal, wasn't there for them. So Louisville is going to have to really try to get back in this thing because they've got Miami coming here pretty soon. I'm not for sure who they play next. Oh, they play Virginia next. Should win that game, but now you're kind of thinking maybe they won't. We'll wait and see. We'll see how that goes. Some other stuff that we had going on this weekend was, don't look now, but Big O, the Hoosiers are 6-0. Can you believe it? No.
They're a basketball school. I don't know why.
They're a basketball school. This coming from a UK fan. Wow. This dude, Big O, you're just throwing blows today. Wow. So the Hoosier State is a basketball school, and they shouldn't be 6-0, but I think they're 2-0 in the Big Ten. Do they have a chance to win the Big Ten?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think they, especially right now, they're 6-0. But
Sure.
I don't really know who they played.
Well,
Not really.
they're not they're not world beaters. Now, the Big Ten I look at it about 75-25.
It's not good.
75% of the teams are okay, and then the other 25% are really good. You got Penn State, Oregon, USC now, but they think they took a loss. Ohio State, and then of course Michigan's down. So it's different. The Big Ten is different than the SEC. Every week you play in the SEC, it's usually going to be a dogfight. In the Big Ten, I don't think it's like that. Case in point, you got Nebraska, who beat Rutgers, who's in the Big Ten, 14-7. Barn burner, but again, Coach Matt Rule is getting it done in Nebraska, who is my sleeper team. They've only had the one loss to Illinois. We'll see how they pan out, but Nebraska, again, winning, I think moving their record to 5-1 maybe. So they're still right in the mix there. There you go. Tell us the Army-Navy records at close to our halfway point.
They're both 5-0.
Get out of here. Again, I said it last week, Army's got a really dynamic quarterback. I think he went 5 for 5 on Saturday. And, they were big plays too, like big pass plays downfield. So Army and Navy, man, they're really balling out right now. We'll see how that goes. Time for our in-state news, which is my alma mater, Campbellsville, Kentucky, is also with the Hoosiers. They're 6-0. Campbellsville receiving some votes for the top 25 again this week. Didn't quite crack it. The road's going to get a little more difficult. They've got to play a top 20 team, I think, in a couple weeks. Next week, I think they play Lindsey Wilson. That'll be tough, but, ended up beating Cumberland University. I don't know if it's Cumberland University, Phoenix, or of Phoenix. I don't know. Anyways, they're in the conference. It used to be Cumberland University in Tennessee, and because there's a Cumberland University in Kentucky also. But had a big fourth quarter comeback, ended up winning like, I think 27-17 or 27-14, something of that nature. Anyways, they're 6-0, And the reason I'm doing and reporting on that is because Campbellsville for the last 8 years, awful, horrible. Coach Perry just didn't get it done down there. I'm a big Coach Perry fan, but man, he did not get it done. And all of my buddies that are Campbellsville alum, we hated it. We couldn't stand it. We had pride, and then all of a sudden we didn't. So glad to see Campbellsville's back a little bit. So that helps me out. Now, me and Big O's going to do our middle of the road. We still got a couple games before we get to halfway through the season. But we're going to go ahead and halfway through, we're going to give our top 5 Heisman candidates. Big O, why don't you do your number 1?
All right. My first one is Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. He averages a first down every carry, so
Can't beat that. Last game, he had a 75-yard run, a 68-yard run, and 3 touchdowns. He had 13 carries for 186 yards. That's insane.
that's just
Gosh, so you think Boise State are just playing cupcakes, but he had over 200 yards against Oregon, didn't he?
yeah.
So, Oregon's a top 10 team, and here he is doing that against them. He looks very dynamic. So he's evidently got a pretty good line in front of him, but when he breaks to that second level, man, he's magic. He's gone. And he's a Florida kid. Hey, Florida State, how'd you let him get out of there? It wouldn't matter because y'all wouldn't block for him anyways. Okay, my number 1, Travis Hunter. This kid is playing over 100 snaps a game. If you've ever played college football, and especially at that position, at cornerback and wide receiver, it's insane. It really is. So, to me, he's a pure football player, and the Heisman's supposed to go to the best football player in the country. Here in the last several years, it's went to the best stat collector in the country, in my opinion. So I got Travis Hunter at my number 1. Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Travis Hunter also, since he's playing the hardest position on defense and, a really important position on offense.
Yeah, playing wide receiver. And cornerback is one of the hardest positions. And if I'm not mistaken, Big O's correction. Wasn't a correction. Big O's right. Cornerback, he's playing man-to-man defense a lot at his corner position, which is harder because you got to read and react. So you got him as your number 2?
2.
Okay. In the NFL, does he play NFL or corner?
He could do what Dion did and play both.
There you go. He could play a few snaps at wide receiver and start at corner. So that's a good point. Let's move on to number 3. Who is your number? Oh no, who's my number 2? Sorry, my number 2. We totally messed that up, didn't we? That's all right. I got Ashton Jeanty at my number 2. He has over 1,000 yards. And we're halfway through the season. He's already got 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns. Nothing more to be said. Big O said it all. Number 3 for you, Big O.
My number 3 is Cam Ward, QB at Miami.
Sorry.
I think he makes really explosive plays, even in the ACC. He does play some slider, but good competition in his schedule. I think he can be number 3 in the Heisman race, but even higher if he keeps.
If they win the ACC, do you think he has a chance if he keeps playing at this level to win the whole thing? No, doesn't have a chance. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Big O said even in the ACC, like that's a chump league. I mean, come on, he's killing me over here. My number 3 is Jalen Milroe. Even though they got beat against Vandy, he produced. He's passing at a very, very high level. His accuracy is better. His decision making is better. And of course, he's an absolute stud running the football. He's a nightmare to try. Ask Kirby Smart. He's a nightmare to try to defend. He extends plays, makes plays with his leg. And Bama really losing to Vandy, yes, that's bad. But if you look at their schedule, they still play so many high-ranked teams that they could still win the SEC, still get to the playoffs, and could still win it all. So a lot of times whenever you lose a game like that, you could come back. So that would put Milroe right in the driver's seat to win the Heisman Trophy. So we'll see how that goes. Your number 4 is?
Milroe.
Same guy.
I think he's the best two-way quarterback in the nation. Like Cam Ward, he makes explosive plays on offense, and he has a really good wide receiver group, including Ryan Williams.
Yeah, especially that cat.
He also has a great offensive line, which really helps.
Always does.
And I think he can win the Heisman if he keeps putting numbers up.
Yeah, I think he will, Big O. I think he'll keep putting those, especially under DeBoer's offense. So, so now we go to, let's see, we are at, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Oh. So I'm at my 4th. Okay, so my number 4 is his partner in crime, Ryan Williams, a 17-year-old phenom who, I'm not going to say embarrassed the Georgia defense, but man, to do what he did against those kids, and now he had a great game against Vandy also, just, it's a team sport. And he showed out. Like, he had a huge touchdown right at the end of the game to bring them back. Bama's defense kind of let him down on that. But Ryan Williams is playing, to me, way, way better than Jeremiah Smith, who, they've just absolutely slobbered over, the entire offseason. And Ryan Williams has come in. Nobody even knew who he was except him. And now we all do. That cat is the real deal. So your last one is possibly maybe the guy I just talked about.
My number 5 is Ryan Williams. He did embarrass Georgia. And
again, Big O don't care. He's just saying what he wants tonight.
He's basically a senior in high school right now. And he's 17 and killing SEC defenses. That
is a very, very good point. It would be unfair to him to play high school football right now.
Yeah, I've seen the highlights of him playing high school. It looks like JUCO versus Alabama.
Wow.
It's really weird.
So looks like a high school senior versus an 8th grade team.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's crazy that this kid is doing what he's doing at this level. He catches almost everything thrown to him, difficult passes. And then after the catch, he's so dynamic. So Big O's got him at number 5. My number 5, and I'll try to talk about this guy without throwing up in my mouth, is Cam Ward. And it's nothing against Cam Ward. He might be a great kid. I don't know. But he plays for Miami, and they suck. I don't like Miami, and if you do like them, I don't care. Miami's going to get theirs. Their defense is so suspect, and their offense is good because of this guy. That's it. Cam Ward is pretty much packing the entire Miami team on his back. I don't know what they paid him to get him. He's worth every cent. He makes incredible play after incredible play. They were losing to Virginia Tech, should have lost. Last drive, Cam Ward, just 2 plays. Put them back in it, they win. Then the other night, I don't watch it, but I hear he brings them back. I mean, they're getting shellacked. Cal's just killing them. He brings them back, and they end up winning late by a point or whatever. The kid just makes plays, and that's what you want out of your quarterback. He's the kind of kid you put in to win a game. He's not a game manager. He's a player. He has a chance, if Miami goes undefeated, to probably win the Heisman, but I'm like Big O, it ain't going to happen. I don't see it happening, but who knows?
I have another thing to say about Cam Ward.
Yep.
He's really, like Ko said, he just carries them, really. And there's no one really on the offense of Miami, except for Cam Ward. He's the one that's just making plays for the team. That's it.
Yeah, they've got they have a couple of good receivers, but a receiver is only as good as your quarterback. Because if you can have the greatest receiver on the planet, but that guy's got to give him the ball, right?
Yeah.
And Cam gets him the ball, and it's like Big O said, the receivers and stuff they're okay, but they're looking a lot better because Cam's getting them the ball at the right spots, the right places. He's a heck of a player, and I'm just salty that he didn't go to Florida State because at least they might have won 2 games by now. If he'd have went there, he tried out, I think, at a lot of places. I know he went to Louisville and some other places, and evidently Miami's a fit for him, and he's balling out. So I'm going to say this: Hunter won't win the Heisman. My number 1 will not win the Heisman because Colorado will end up losing 3 or 4 games. And the Heisman, again, the Heisman is predicted on stats. If your team loses 3 or 4 games, you don't have a chance. That's just the way it is. I don't know why that's like that because that doesn't make that player any less better. So I'm going to call it, and I'm going to say Jalen Milroe wins the Heisman this year. That's going to be my call. Who you got, Big O?
I want to say Genty, but they don't really.
I know what you're going to say.
I think it's going to be Genty.
Boise State is going to have to play better competition for people to take him really serious.
I don't really.
Yeah, you
see
can't
them
play
playing.
Utah State, can you?
Nah, I don't even know what conference they're in.
Wow, Big O. The Mountain West. They're in the Mountain West Conference. We'd have to look and see because the problem and Big O says he doesn't know because who knew Cal was in the ACC? Who knew? You've got to look at all because everything twisted this year. Everything went crazy. And since when is USC a Big Ten team? Well, they are now.
I don't even know.
Oregon.
ACC.
See, exactly. Oregon, Big Ten team. USC, Big Ten team. Cal, an ACC team. SMU is an ACC team.
Apparently Stanford is too.
Stanford, yeah. So you just you don't know who's in whose conference unless you're just sitting there really looking at it. So if he keeps putting up these crazy video game numbers, I think Genty has a chance. I think you're right, Big O. Probably has a chance.
If not, I say Milroe.
Okay. Well, give us your prediction. UK Vandy this weekend.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be close after looking at Vandy, but as I said, I hope they get drunk. And I think Kentucky wins 10 by 10.
Kentucky by 10.
10 to 20.
Okay. 20 to 10. Big O's calling it. Now, I don't want to pressure you all, but he did call. Who did beat by 30? Ohio?
Ohio.
Big O called it. Said 35. They win by 35. They did. He's saying they win by 10. If you're betting the spread, you might want to look at that. I don't want to say he's a fortune teller, but so we'll see what happens. All right. Anything else, Big O?
Nope.
All right. Big O's still single. Just putting it out there. All right. Later.